Hello again, everyone. We are here for another office hour session. As always, I am joined by Flo. How are we doing, Flo?
I'm doing good, thank you, Matthew.
Super. These always tend to start off slow. Good morning, Elena. You're already in here. Do you want to come up? Should I bring you up? Sorry, I wasn't sure if you're nodding your head there. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you'd like to. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Hi, I'm alone today.
Oh yeah.
Jill is skiing. It's
No
a good ski
worries.
day.
She's having fun.
So hopefully hopefully my Italian accent and the French accent and the English accent won't collide today.
No. I'm sure
Okay,
it'll be all
I have
good.
a question. That is driving us. Can I share my screen? How do I do that? Oh, here.
There
Okay.
should be. Yeah.
Yeah. I see. Okay, so let me do entire screen. Okay, this one. Yeah. Okay. So we have been banging our head against the wall with the Google OAuth, and we're running into this issue. So we have I'm gonna try to do the sign in. We have our button, and so we are calling the init from this button right here. So I have the Google sign in, and we are calling the Google init, and we're getting back the code just fine. So the pop-up will pop. I'll show you. So I go here, I click on Google, comes up just fine. We're happy. I select my name here, and I get the code back, and I get redirected to the page that I'm expecting. And on this page, I have the Google continue call. So I call that API, and I'll show you in a second. Comes back at some point. Okay, step in there. Oh my goodness. Sometimes the editor is slow. Okay, well, quicker. And on this page, I have my Google redirect, and I have a trigger page workflow that calls the continue right here. And I have the code and I have the redirect URL. Now here it would trigger an error, but typically it doesn't. Let me show you again. I promise. Let me do it again. So let me go to the login and close them. Because my okay, let me do one more time. Login. Okay, everything works. And the issue is, if I can reproduce it now, of course, is that continue call, I see it tracked, like the workflow gets called within WeWeb, and it looks like everything is fine. But when I go onto the Zeno side, I don't see any history of that. Like it's just telling me it's, of course, it's failing. So, but our issue was that we didn't even see the call hitting Zeno at all. So, and I don't know that error now.
Just to double check, would you be able to, in the plugins of WeWeb?
Yeah.
Could you go into the Xano Auth plugin just to double check the configuration? That there's because you're getting that Xano Auth error every time.
Yeah, which I didn't before our call, I swear.
Branching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe I just have to bang my head against the wall more. Is it like? But right now I do see at least the call. So 903.
What is the? So, and
It's
are these
been a
you
minute.
when you've been testing it?
Yeah. Well, yes, yeah. Yes and no. These are my tool this morning. Well, this is right now. 9:04. That's me right now. So
Okay.
like it's intermittent working or not working, and we're just not understanding if we're doing
So when you say
anything
it's,
wrong.
is it actually
It
you're
never,
failing to receive?
well,
Sorry, go on.
originally we couldn't even see the call hitting Zeno. That was our issue.
Mhm.
Now it seems like we are getting somewhere. But right now I guess at least I'm getting an error. But prior
If
we
you
didn't
open up
get
the
any error
response,
whatsoever.
and then data. So precondition
Oh yeah, when
failed.
we use,
So it
yeah,
seems
we
like
get,
yeah.
so that would be an error on this side.
Let's see. So the conditions here, these are just regular if conditions. So yeah, so it would be in one of the functions, one of the first two functions, there'll be a precondition. So one of those must be
Okay.
failing currently.
Okay. Well, at least, okay, so the issue is on the Zeno side, not on the WeWeb side. Because again, originally we couldn't even see the call hitting Zeno for some reasons, but now it seems like it's fine. Of course, now
Okay.
that I'm on the call.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
I know. Okay, so that is question number one. I have a bunch of other questions. I don't know who's on. If you have a
Okay,
bunch
cool.
of
I
people. Oh
think,
yeah, you got a bunch of people.
There's a few,
I'll
but I
come
think
back
we'll be able to
later.
jump back shortly. See
Yeah,
you soon.
sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Sounds
Right.
good. Thank you.
And then, so next up, Prolette is with us. Hello again, Prolette. Prolette has a question regarding the pricing. So I brought you in, Prolette. Are you there?
No. Okay. I guess I just have a question, kind of, I don't know if you guys can talk a little bit more about the new pricing and the different models they are, because like, honestly, very confusing. The information on the website that was supposed to help, it's not really helping. So can you talk a little bit more about how the new pricing works, and also like, are the features the same? Because also the features that are listed seem like slightly different. So for example, nothing is listed around the being able to export the applications, which was something that we had, and the whole GitHub connection. I have no idea what embedding enabled, allowed, whatever the hell that says on the features means. So can you just kind of walk us a little bit more through it and kind of like talk about how they're supposed to work?
I'm sorry, Prolet. We won't do it during this official. It's not the place to do that. But you
Okay.
can definitely book a call with the support team for this. You can ask on the chat, or you can book a call maybe with Slavo, and he will take you to and go through the pricing plan with you, explain you everything, because sometimes it depends also what plan you had before. So he will give you all the details. I prefer not to do it in here. I prefer to have people to build in here. And I'm sorry, but they will definitely help you to explain everything to you for sure.
Okay, so I can book a call because I got tired with the chat. Like I send a
Yeah,
message
sure.
and then like a day
Absolutely.
after they send me like one answer and all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You can click contact us in the pricing plan, and you can book a call with you'll see it will be with Slavo, and he will help you with this.
Okay. That's my only question today.
Okay. Thank you, anyway, Prolette. Apologies we couldn't assist you here. Right, we shall jump back to Elena. That was short and sweet. Hello again, Elena.
Oh, me again. Hi. So this, man, that Zeno API is really an issue. The second question I have is related to the image component upload. So if we have a CRUD system in place here, and so we are loading an image. But when I go back and load the image itself, the name of the image that is associated to that record is not being pre-filled, and I am not sure why that happens. And I can show you what I'm passing.
Yeah.
Here. So I have my edit raw image. So I have an image associated to this. It's a component within our design system.
Yeah.
But I would expect at least to have the path right here. And
if you click into the if you go into the component in your design system, in truth, I'm not too sure. We'll need to double check. If you go into this component in your design system. Sorry, by the way, I think it's slightly delayed between us.
Sorry, I don't have the design system. Just give me a second. Yeah.
And so in truth, we'll double check this, but this might be a limitation of the simple file upload, because in WeWeb, there's two file upload elements. There's a simple and an advanced one. And in the advanced one, you have basically a drop zone inside of it, which you can customize a lot. So I'm not sure which one you've used here. If you use the simple one, then it might be a limitation. It might not be. We can check. But if it is, you might have to use the advanced one. But we can go through that and see.
I probably do use the simple one. Jill, come on.
Okay.
Okay. So there you go. Okay. Where do you want me to go?
If you click onto this text, okay, no, cool. I think we can do this. So if you click onto that text, and now you would need to bind this in some way to the file content. So if you click, although you haven't actually got access to the content of this text because it's automatic, is there, are you passing in, would you mind showing me again how you pass in the file that is already uploaded into this component in some way? So because you showed me the URL and that had the file name. Just curious again to see how you're doing that.
So, what, sorry.
So,
what do you want me to show you?
So you're just passing in the URL here. Is that right? That's the only thing it has context of. So you're getting the image via the URL, but there's no file object. Because usually when you upload a file, it gives you kind of this package of different things about the file inside of an object, but you're not passing in any of that. You're just passing in the URL, right? Sorry, is it my? Can you hear me, Flo? Just to double check it's on my end. Okay, cool.
Yes.
I think you might have lost Elena. Can you hear me, Elena? Okay, I think I'll.
Yep.
I'll switch away from you briefly, Elena, if you can hear me, and then pop us a message whenever it's back working. We can jump back. Apologies. Connor, I know you gave us a question at the start. We shall switch to you. Hey, Connor. You there?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm back.
Good to see you again.
Well.
I can't hear you.
Doing well. Let me go and share my screen and we'll jump into it.
Sweet.
Okay, so we've talked before. I'm sure you guys remember vaguely what I'm building. So the thing I'm having an issue with right now is with the modals. So As you can see, when I scroll to the bottom and click on modals down here, it functions as expected. All content is behind it. Now, even though I've copied and pasted the same exact modal, absolutely nothing's different. When I click it over here, things pop up in front of it. So maps and then stuff like this. So I'm wondering what I'm doing wrong here.
So this will be a Z index issue. So if you open up if you keep that modal open, and now you put it back into the editor so you can edit the styling of it. If you check this in the layout tree, so you've got the and the dialog element itself, the contact host dialog on the left. Yep. If you scroll down on this on the right hand side to the very bottom, or just up a tiny bit more, that's Z. Yes. If you turn that on, and let's put it to some crazy amount like 10,000 or 1,000, just to test to make sure this is what's doing it. And if you now scroll to what was causing the issue before, okay. What I think might be causing an issue again then is if you put it back into editor, and what's probably happening then is one of the elements above the dialog is inside of, I think might have a Z index that's overriding it. So if you just quickly go through the elements that's inside of, click on each one. Yep, no, just leave it for the time being. Oh, we could do that. No, let's leave it. Let's go through each one. Then the price is content. Yep, okay, no good. Price detail box, all good. Okay, no. And then I think the final, no. Okay, no, okay. I think it's got a sticky position, so that might cause something, but we'll go through just to double check. No, okay, that's all good. And is there anything above this, or this is the final parent?
Let's see, close this. Was it this? No.
I think that is the
section.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you give the property details and price section, because I think that's the one that it's inside of at the top.
Property.
At the very top, I think it was above this. Yes, that one.
Yeah.
If you give that a high z-axis.
Okay.
Yep, give it like 1,000 just to see. And now scroll again. Let's see if that's worked. No, okay.
It helped with some of it.
It
helped with some of it.
Section.
Yeah, this helped with some of it. This is still sitting high. This map.
If you keep it there, so keep with the map in view, and now put it into edit mode. And now click on that map, and let's see if that's somehow got a crazy z-axis.
0.
No, 0. And then is it inside of something that has a
inside neighborhood section? Nothing.
Check the one above it. No.
Nothing. And then let's see. Left side.
No.
Nothing.
Property details.
And that's
okay. That's maybe it's. Okay, try. I think this might be a dialogue thing. I'm not too sure. It requires some experimenting. Do you have any ideas on this one, Flo?
Now I will have to take a deeper look. Just instead of 0, can you put in 1? Or is it the index for the map?
For the map?
container? Yeah, for the map and its container. Can you put 1? And same for the container, the flexbox, or neighborhood section, just for the section, for the wrapper. Section. Yeah, this one. Can you set? Yeah, 2, 1, 2. No, it didn't work.
That
must be an issue with the map. Yeah, that's big. Yeah, you can remove the Z index. Normally, you don't need them.
Oh.
Yeah, you can undo. Maybe it would be easier.
Okay, yeah. There we go. There we go.
Can you create a ticket for this, a support ticket, with the link of your in the? I can give you the link.
Yeah, can you send me a link?
I'll send it in just quickly. We can try something because this might be there's a nuance thing with the dialogue at the minute. If you go into the dialogue element itself that triggers the opening of this.
Or sorry.
Yeah.
This one.
Yes. If you what you have inside of that trigger right now, so the contact host button. If you drag that just to be beneath the button section, but in between the dialogue, so you drag it actually out of that dialogue and put it just beneath the button section on the left hand side.
Sorry, repeat that. I didn't quite follow.
Yeah, so on the left hand side, you have the contact host button, and then you have the button section above it. If you drag the contact host button to be outside, so it's in between dialogue and the button section. Yep, there you go.
Right.
Just and drop it in between them. Yep. And now if you drag the dialogue, so the contact host dialogue itself,
yeah.
If you drag this to be like as high as it can go. So when I say as high as it can go, to be like one of the absolute parents on the page. So if you were to collapse everything and you were to reach like the uppermost part of all of the parent flex boxes, if you were to drag it exactly to one of the like beneath image section on the left hand side, for example, so it's not inside of anything.
This one right here, that goes
exactly. Yeah, just trust me on this one. Trust me on this one. Yeah.
And should I just send it to the
drag it underneath the image section
right here,
just there? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And now why has it got okay, cool. And then on contact host, the actual button that was triggering it,
yeah,
if you on a workflow, for on click here, yep, and then you create a new workflow, and then you do an execute component action. So there'll be a, yep. And now if the component, you select that dialogue, I can't remember exactly what it was called.
Oh, shoot. I have a few. Well, they all do the same thing, so I guess I could.
Cool. I think so, yeah, if you just click one of them.
Okay.
And you toggle it. Now, we might need to set a high Z axis on all of them, because I don't know if just one of them has a high Z index right now, but we can try this just to see if it does actually resolve it on its own. Okay. If you now try this, let's see.
Okay.
And now,
you know what? It seems like it has to do with the placement. Let me quickly look at this and say this is the lowest one, so I'll name it low, and then
right, okay, yeah,
button, and then click that. And
no, you would want the one that we dragged to the top. So the one that we dragged, yeah. So it's I think you'll probably need to do exactly as you did, but come out of this and rename the one at the very top.
Okay.
That one, yeah. And while you've got this one open, give it a high Z index, just to make sure. I think you already do, because it's the one we did before. Yeah, you do. Okay. And let's see if this resolves it.
Go back to this. Choose the top one.
Yep.
Okay.
And if this doesn't fix it, then unfortunately, I think it is a map issue.
Oh my God, that worked.
There you go. Okay.
Okay, so so I just need to leave this like empty box here.
No, so sorry. If you click onto that dialog element again,
okay,
in the layout, you'll have an option for trigger in the settings of it, or actually, sorry, in the styling. So in the pencil part of the actual, if you click onto the dialog.
Gotcha. Yep.
And then in here, you'll have a property called trigger. And you can turn this off, because that then hides that trigger flex box, so it will no longer be there. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'll put a link to the dialogue video we put up recently on YouTube. This is one of those nuanced things where I think what it has to do with is because you had this inside of a flex box that had sticky positioning, which was adding a bit of weird styling to it. So unfortunately, if you encounter something like this, you have to put the dialogue at a very top level, so it's not affected by things it's inside of, and do it this way with workflows.
Very interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm having trouble. I'm having pretty much the same problem on another page. So I'll try the Z-axis on my own, and then try moving it around because like it's this one. You can see it's also same issue. So just to be clear, while I guys have you here, I would want to. Yeah, actually, how would it? That would be
if you gave this a high Z index. I mean, you might not necessarily have to move it to be at a high level. You could just first try a very high Z index, see if that resolves it. But then if not, you might have to move it. Yeah, so I think you might have to move this one, unfortunately, by the looks of it.
Okay, so what I would do again is I would move that essentially to the top of the page and then use a workflow to trigger it, and then I could hide it. That's what it is.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So you'd move in this case, you'd move the location modal to be, let's say, above hero and search, that flex box you have. And then, but you'd move whatever you have in the trigger outside of the trigger. So you can keep the content, move it higher up, do it via workflow, and then click back onto the dialog and turn the property off of the trigger. It's overly complicated right now. We're trying to resolve this issue in the dialog, but for right now, unfortunately, that's how you get around it.
Okay, cool. I'll give that a try then. Cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys.
No worries. Cool. Right. We shall switch to Fred next. Hey, Fred.
How you doing?
How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you loud and clear.
Okay, let me just share my screen for you. Okay, you can see my screen okay? Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
So here's what my issue is. I have a menu that has an item in there that I click. I want it to run a workflow. The problem I've been having is when I do that and I click that item in the menu, so in this case, it's the draft button, it runs a workflow and it automatically forces the user to re-log in, which I don't want. The way my app is structured, when I first built it, I built a whole bunch of different pages with this header as a shared item across a bunch of different pages. Then I've changed my architecture so that it's more of a single page architecture, and I just have a bunch of divs which have pages, and basically I have variables that show and hide those pages. So I want to switch to the draft page, and when I do it from this menu, it forces the user to go back and sign in again. But if I put this temporary icon here on my nav bar or on my tabs, and if I click on that, it correctly goes and switches the view of this draft div, and it shows it correctly. I'll undo that. Now, if I try it I tried moving that icon into the header just for a test. And if I do that, I get the same effect. So I'm going to do this from my menu and show you. Actually, I'll do it from the icon because that doesn't depend on that menu item or that sidebar overlay. So if I click on that item, it automatically kicks me out and makes me log in again. Which is not what I want. And I can't understand why it's doing that when I have something happening from within the header, but not when I have something that's happening lower on the page. For example, this icon here. And just to show you again, if I run the same workflow from this button that says draft, I expect it to just hide this other page and show me the div that's the draft. And if I click on that, it automatically knocks me out and gives me yet another tab that makes me sign in again. So that's not what I want to have happen. And I wondered if you guys can give me any kind of a hint as to why that might be happening from within that header, which is a shared element.
Would you be able to go on the workflow of the actual, so when you press draft and it logs you out, would you be able to check if there's a workflow in there?
Yes. So this is the one that's actually logging me out. Anything that's in this header. So I'll go to that one. I'm changing the selected page, which is the dialog, or which is the variable that switches which of my pages, my pseudo pages, are being shown. So I'm switching that to draft as opposed to home, which is what it was before. And then it fetches a bunch of collections. And it asks if the user is an admin, and if it is, they show this segment controller at the top. If it's not, they don't.
And do you have an on-error workflow?
No, I
on
don't,
this?
actually. That's something that I'm very remiss in doing, so I need to learn more about that. But on error, I do not have one.
No, the only reason I ask is there's nothing apparent in that workflow that I think could be causing, because when it asks you to log in, that's a page change, right? It's directing you to the login page, or is that some kind of
no?
Login
It's a
mode?
login page. It's directing me to the login page.
Right. And okay, and do you think there's something that this is inside of that could be triggering a workflow above the element? So for instance, whenever you click on this draft menu item, that click propagates up to flex boxes that it's inside of. Do you think there's anything inside of, do you think there's any other flex boxes that this item could be inside of that could have a workflow that could trigger this?
Okay, let's take a look at that. So it's inside the tabs.
Maybe.
Well, actually, you can test it quite easily. So if you on...
Yes. So that you just,
Sorry, Flo, go on.
before going deeper into those workflows, could you check what you have on settings? You might have a link on a wrapper or something like this that redirects to a page.
Sorry, a link on this icon?
I think it's more on your header. If you click on your header,
Yes.
yeah, this one, and you go to the setting page, the second tab on your right, on the right panel. Yeah, and we need to take a look to all divs in here, just to make sure you don't have a link in here somewhere, a link to a page.
Like a page redirect from in there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that would be any of the divs that are in here. Icon, there's no link there. I don't seem to like, so these are the other things that are in this division, the blue header, by the way, I call it division header. So
you had the issue when you clicked on draft, right? On the pop-up. No?
When I clicked on the pop-up, yes. So
yeah. Could you open it again?
Yes, I will. Let me just go to here and open this up. Come back here.
Yeah.
And maybe I
have a link here. Yeah.
So this is the one that I clicked on.
Yeah, here you are. You see here, you've got a link to page. So you need to,
because originally my architecture was to take it to a different page, so I should just turn this off.
Absolutely. And I think you won't have the error anymore.
Okay, and oh man, thank you. Okay, let me try this again. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you so much. I've been struggling.
No, you're very welcome. We might need to add a log for this or something. Too.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No worries at all.
And I'll stop sharing.
Cool. Right. Cheers, Fred. And right, we'll switch back to the chat. So we have a question from Scott. If I were going to create a website that had an upcoming event listed and I wanted to allow users in a company to easily add those events, some events are free and some events, is this possible? Yes, it's definitely possible. A lot of it, I mean, there's various ways you can do it depending on logic. If you're creating a website that upcoming events listed, easily add those events. Yes, I mean, you could create an app. If you're using a backend, for example, create users in your backend. They'd have roles, I assume, to add certain events, whether or not they can add paid events or free events, or maybe they can add all events, but regardless, you could have users in your backend, you could create an app, your staff members or the users in your company could log in, and you could have a page where they can add events. So it's definitely possible. Then we have a question from Bob. Is there an easy way of reusing workflows without copying them to different pages? I have a workflow library where they are just an instance of one workflow. Yes. So I will find a link for you, Rob. Basically, we have what is termed global workflows. So you can create a global workflow, which is then just a single workflow, and you can reuse that across pages. And it's basically does exactly what you're doing, but in a very manual way. So right now you have a workflow library. We have instances of one workflow, but that's exactly what a global workflow is. So it should save you a lot of time. I shall find the documentation for it. So I'll put the link in now, Rob. It is called App Workflows in the documentation. I think that's it for the chat. If Elena is still here, we can hop back to Elena.
Sorry,
Again,
I don't know what happened. Yeah, I didn't hear
no worries.
anything you
I think
said about the
it
image.
broke up slightly, so we switched off.
Okay, so I'm still, what should I do with the image? I'm right here, and I was trying to...
Yes, so I think how you're passing in, it will be quite tricky, to be honest, because so right now you're just passing in a URL, and the URL, although it has the file name in the URL, it's not a straightforward thing to extract the file name from the URL. So there's two ways you could do this. Actually, there's probably only really one way you could do it, I think, based on what it seems, is that if the only thing you have is that URL, you're going to have to probably use something called regex, which is a way of extracting certain snippets of text from, so you're probably going to have to, ChatGPT is always helpful here. You could just give that URL into ChatGPT, say, give me regex to extract the file name, and it will probably give you JavaScript. And
but do I need to bind the name in the component?
So would you mind sharing your screen again? Just to double check.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So because I think the way it appeared, all you were doing was passing in the URL. And if the only thing you have is that URL, then the only way to pull the file name is by extracting it from the end of that URL.
To bind the text within the component and regex the URL here. Is that correct?
Yes. So right now you have the property image URL in the component there at in the menus of the properties. Yes. So you have to set up regex, which takes in a URL and then extracts the very end. And that's basically how you do it. Create regex, pass in the image URL property into that regex, and bind it that way. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Yes. Okay, I do have
in the
another
future,
question.
to make your life a bit easier.
Yeah,
no worries. In the future, if you're setting up something like this, it would be much easier to create a column called file name. So that way you can just pull in the column called file name. But are you already doing that?
I do not, but that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I was going to say, if you are, that would make your life a lot easier if you could just pull in that additional column when you're doing this, because you could pass that in. But if you're not,
yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Sounds good. Okay, I do have another question. If nobody else has questions, let me know.
No, we can take one more, I think.
Go ahead. Okay, so this one is more, I am trying to use the Figma to Web functionality. So we have our design system, and I installed the widget, the plugin, sorry, and I'm doing the Figma to Web with design, and I generate the design, and then from my understanding, I should be able to go into my my page and then click on import from Figma, but then I get invalid import format. And I'd love to be able to import from Figma. So am I doing something wrong, or can you guide me through how I can import from Figma?
I'm not sure if you've seen this before, Flo.
No.
Nope.
You haven't seen the...
Yeah, invalid import.
You haven't seen the error, or you haven't seen the import from Figma?
Oh no, we haven't seen the invalid import error.
Where? Oh, okay. Is this something that maybe you guys can help us? Yeah.
I definitely need to
and
talk
that happens with pretty much every. Like, this is just a frame. I mean, any functions I can try.
Out of pure curiosity, if you were to click into the frame, so if you were to click into kind of one of the subframes, one of the inputs or one of the pieces of text that's inside of the frame.
Sure. Like this one?
Yep, and if you were to, yes, if you could try and export that and see if that works, just out of curiosity.
Sure. Oh yeah, here it doesn't even let me
because
generate
it's
it.
Yeah, but I think because it's a component. Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, if you could file a ticket for this,
anything I can...
that would be fantastic because.
Okay. Okay.
I think the best right now for you would be to take a screenshot of this and to give it to WebAI for now. We are going to improve the Figma plugin. For sure. But this is something you can definitely do.
Oh, and how do I pass a screenshot to the AI? Can I just? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't realize like you could do that.
You can try this.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know you could do
the best way it will work is if you do it segmentally. So instead of passing in the whole screenshot at once, you could pass in the left-hand side of that page and the right-hand side. The more you can break it up in terms of the screenshots you pass in, the more detailed the generations will be. So if you want to do it that way, it's best if you break it up into segments.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, and okay, perfect. Okay, I have more questions if nobody else has.
No worries. We can jump back, but I think we'll have to jump to someone else briefly. Cool.
Okay,
right.
sounds good. I'll be here.
Fred had another question, so we will hop back to Fred. Hello again, Fred.
Hi there. Let me reshare this. Okay, this is a weird CSS thing that if it's too funky, then we don't have to deal with it. But I have basically two screens here set up, and each of these are manual tabs that I created that have divs underneath them that are shown and hidden that reference different collections. So one is scheduled games and one is past games. When I'm on the large format on desktop or tablet, I don't have this problem. But when I'm on the mobile size, when I switch back and forth between these, the screen jumps a little bit, and it's jumping because something is wrapping on one of them and not wrapping on the other one, and I can't figure out why. And the reason I put both screens up here is so I can compare the settings on both of them at the same time. So the one that's wrapping, if I look on the right-hand screen, you can see one of the...
Just so you know, Fred, we can only see one of the screens. I think it's the one that's set to the mobile view.
Okay, let me go back and see if I can stop sharing and then go back and do my whole screen. My apologies. How can I exit camera? How do I turn off sharing? Remove source. Okay, let me give this a try now. Share screen. I want to share my entire screen. That's what I did wrong. Okay. You should be able to see it now.
Cool. Yes.
Okay. So on the right-hand side, There's a gym name called BC Lower. You can see where my cursor is hovering, and that is showing on one line. And on the scheduled games tab, which is the left screen, that gym called BC Lower is wrapping. Okay. Now I can show you that if I click on that BC Lower, you can see that my size is set to 100% for that item. And let's see what it says about wrapping. No wrap is off there. And if I go into the right-hand screen and click on the same element, it's also set to a sizing of 100%. And the no wrap is also set to off. So one of them is wrapping and one of them is not. So then the next layer I look at is, okay, the div that those things are in, which is called deets. On the right, it's set to 30% width. And on the left-hand side, if I go back to that same thing called deets, it is also set to 30% width. So both of the widths are being set the same, and both of the widths of the item inside them are the same. And yet when I flip back and forth between them, for example, if I go into my preview mode on the left-hand screen and I flip back and forth between these, and I've just put the red box around them to show that the size of the boxes change as I'm flipping back and forth between these. And this is an unwanted behavior, that those things change. And if you have any idea, so I've checked the div and I've checked the element, namely the text, to see the sizes. But can you think of anything else that I should be checking that I'm not checking?
I guess there is, when you click on past games, there is elements on the right-hand side. So I don't know how you're changing the display of those, but one quick fix could...
I think I've just made them white on the left-hand side. I think they're still there. If I go into my editor mode here, if I look at these things.
And just to double check, Fred, you wanted to always not wrap, is that right? So it would just be BC
yes, I want it,
lower on one line?
Actually, it doesn't. I would rather they not wrap, but even if they both did the same thing, I would be okay with it. But to answer your earlier question, Matthew, those elements that are on the right-hand side, like the scores of these games and the chevron, they still exist on the left-hand screen. They're just colored white, because I didn't want them to impact the positioning at all.
Oh,
that makes sense. One quick fix could be is if you just turn no wrap on for both of the text elements. I'm not too sure what's causing the sizing issue. That would be more of a deep dive, but I think a quick fix would just be if you turn no wrap on for both of them.
Got it. No wrap on.
And now if you were to try it?
Give that a shot in preview mode. And if I say, okay, now the height of the rows doesn't change, but the width of it does. And so when I look at those, if I look at the padding and so forth on the text, there's none on the text in the left-hand screen, and on the right-hand screen, there shouldn't be any either. Yeah, there's no padding or margin on either of those. And I'll just check the container, the div there that's sitting in on the left-hand side. That has padding 10 left, a margin is 6 and 16. If I select this and I go padding 10 left, margin 6 and 16. So they're the exact same margin settings for the div, and they're the exact margin and padding settings for the div, and they're the exact same margin settings for the text. And yet on the right-hand side, you can see some, I'm not sure. This might be getting too much in the weeds here, so kick me out if you need.
Yes, no, it's all good. It would probably require going through this for quite a few minutes, because the only thing I can suspect is that you have some kind of, whether it be state or binding set up, that when you switch between tabs, my suspicion would be it's something on the right-hand side, even if you are just changing the color, there's something happening either with the display of one element or the sizing of the element, because it doesn't make sense that the sizing is changing, but there's nothing happening from a display perspective between those tab switches.
Okay, well, you've helped me
So
anyways.
we'd have to go through it a fair bit, but that would be my suspicion.
Turn the wrapping off on that, and I will go back and check further. And if I still need help, I will connect with you guys in the future. Thank you. That's one of those weird things. It's like not a deal breaker, but for me, when the user experience, if they flip back and forth, it's really clunky looking if that happens.
Yeah.
I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I get it. Right, next up was Vikran, and Vikran has joined us.
Hi, Matt. Thanks,
Hey, Vikran. Hey, how's it going?
Good. All right, so I just gave a very short look at this because I just encountered this issue, but I basically wanted to style my multi-select tags. This is how it kind of looks right now. So basically, if I want to just replicate this behavior, this is what it looks right now. I want the more rounded edges. So I changed it up here, which it does, but now here's the issue. Like if I do this, and let's just say I'm adding this. Now, if I cancel it, it creates a double copy. So I'm not sure what's triggering that or how do I fix it basically.
And you're using the standard multi-select?
Yeah.
This isn't an element I'm very familiar with. Do you have any ideas in this flow? Because I guess because you're creating, I mean, it makes sense why it's doing it because you're putting into duplicate values and you're creating them separately, but I don't think is there any way you can filter these items flow or change the items displayed here?
At my disposal, I just have these values. So it says item data. I'm not sure what goes behind the logic side of things for this because this is binded this value.
Is there, could you click onto the multi-select element itself? So the keywords element on the left. And then if you go into the settings panel, is there an init options for this or the options? So there is options, but I guess the option. Sorry.
You have a workflow on right on this one on change. Can we see it? No, you don't.
No. So this is like the standard multi-select, right? It works absolutely fine in other cases where if I'm just using. So what I changed here was that if you see the this one, let's say, so this has the layout type as text. I changed it to free layout because I wanted to have a bit of control over design. But this works absolutely fine because I didn't have to do anything here in terms of binding something. So I just click. It works absolutely fine like it should. But with the free layout, I'm unable to figure out what the workflow or trigger should be like.
Okay, so you're setting this up. How you're actually creating these options? Are you doing it manually right now, or are you using the automatic options that are created when you use free layout?
Manually, it's so I can basically allow it to create options. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I think, so just to double check then, so the question is, because you're right now it's showing duplicates. So if I was to type in AB, then create it, and then type AB again and create it, are you saying how would you prevent those duplicates?
So if I type, if I type 1, 2 and create it, if I type 2, 1, create it. Now this is fine until here. If I cancel or if I remove something, which works fine when the layout is set to text, but in this case, the layout is text set to a free layout. I click it, it creates duplicates here for each value. So the click this,
okay.
It does this. So the moment I selected it back, selected.
Yeah, this is a bug. This is a bug that we need to fix. So we try to reproduce it and.
I reported. This would be a quick feedback on the same element that it would be cool to have like a separate designing ability or like more control over the drop down styling basically, because I wanted something like this, but then I'm having to use that because of the functionality. I can use a custom one, but then that's better to use. It's native, the native one. Yeah, that's all. I'll create a bug then.
Apologies, Vikram.
All right.
Yeah.
Good day, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks.
please do this, and I will definitely take a look.
Cool. All right. Cheers. Right. And then Bob followed up with a question. Another question, how can I capture an outer focus event once I click away from a Dropbox? I'm using the Dropbox for an inline avatar upload function, but need to capture when a user clicks away so I can trigger a temp file cleanup in Xano for unused images. So when you say, I think you mean at the file drop upload, how could you detect a focus out event? So I'm not too sure. Correct me on this, Flo, if you know off the top of your head. I don't think the actual file upload has a defocus event or a click outside
Yeah,
event.
it's called on blur, and I'm not sure we do have this for the. Let me check quickly.
If it's not there, Rob, it can be done, but it's a bit trickier because you can use custom JavaScript to set up an event listener, which does listen for the on blur event. But obviously that's a bit trickier if it's not there natively in the editor.
We don't have it on this one. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, at a broad level, Rob, you would have to give the element some kind of identifier, like a certain class, or give it an ID in the settings panel. And then you'll need some kind of workflow, probably on mount, to trigger JavaScript that adds an event listener using, say, the ID, and the event listener watches for on blur and then does whatever you need it to, which I guess sounds like it would execute a workflow.
Yeah, this one is not easy.
Apologies, it's not native. Yeah.
But
it's from a drop down.
Oh, drop down.
Yes, Rob. If you, I'll put the link in quickly in the chat for you. Because it should. Oh, actually, that's a good point. I'm not sure if the drop down. We have a new drop down, so I need to actually do my research on this because I'm not sure if the new one Lucas added has a trigger for when the user closes it. If you are joining us, Rob, I will quickly check on my side if that is actually a thing.
This is, this is always something hard to do, even for senior developers. It's not something really native. That's why it could be hard.
Cool. Rob has joined us.
Hello.
Hey, Rob.
Evening.
Good. How are you?
Good. How are you? Let me share my screen. You can see my screen, right?
Cool. We've got you. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So basically, this is. Let me put off YouTube. Basically, this is kind of some custom-made components by now. When I click on the edit, and I click here, it allows me to upload the avatar. On the back of it, it will basically upload to Xano directly and then display whatever you uploaded. But when I click away from this, I'd like to clean up. Obviously, if you don't use the file, I'd like to clean it up out of Xano. So somehow I'd like to capture that deblur event basically. So I can tell Zano clean up this file that was uploaded because it has been it was not applied or confirmed as the new avatar basically.
So there is a trick for this.
I'm gonna learn something as well now.
So when you open your drop down, the trick is to also open something that takes the full screen. So 100 VH, 100% noise, and it's behind, but it's with not an opacity, but with a transparent color. And so
I think I read about it in the forums.
And so basically you had a workflow on that one, and when you click on it, you do what you want, and you remove it. But this is a trick. So basically, the users won't see that there is a big container just behind your pop-up. And this is how you can you can do it. And this is a dev trick.
But I think there is an on-blur event on the models, right?
Yeah, on models you have this. On inputs you have this. On some particular components, but not on all of them, because like I said, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Okay.
If you were to actually use a dialogue for this, so we have a dialogue element, and if you were to actually use the dialogue here, the dialogue has natively built in exactly what Flo is talking about. So it has an overlay whenever you open it, and I think it would, if you were to use it, you could get the exact same thing you're trying to do here design-wise, and it should be much easier to set up for you because it has a native overlay, and you can set up logic around when that overlay is clicked.
Yeah, you mean the model or these things right here?
Yeah.
But the only thing I had with these is it's harder to position, especially components in line. And the Dropbox is very easy to just position the trigger and use the absolute position on that cell, like exactly there. That's it.
That's true. For this one, you would have to use a.
But
So sorry, go ahead, go on.
No, if you need some inspiration, then you can look at the dialogue, because as I say, the overlay in the dialogue is exactly what Flo's talking about.
All right,
if you were to use it, you can use a custom position and just find where the user clicked. Or you can have a X and Y position, and you bind to X and Y position of your element. This is also something that you can do.
Okay.
But it could be complicated sometimes.
There is a new drop-down element. I'm not sure which one you're using, but we did recently update the drop-down, and I'm not actually sure if it now has an. It's the new one. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately.
So, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was going to say I'm not sure if it actually has an overlay property.
It's not this navigation.
But in that
one.
case, I guess it doesn't.
One. So I don't know if this is the new one or this is the new one.
Yeah, this is it. But we changed also the navigation. I think the navigation is now using the new one too.
Okay. Yeah, I'll play around then with that transparent page overlay, basically.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Cool. All right. Cheers, Rob. Right, and that about does it for time then. So thank you everyone for joining us. There was many questions as always, and as always again, we will be here same time next week. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.